I want to thank the other volunteers that are helping out this evening, some of our wives, my daughters and granddaughters, and so thank them. Have a little presentation to make to two outgoing board members that have put in many years of hard work and need to be recognized. Lynn Shaleski up here and Jerry Bender, would you please come up? Where's Jerry? Oh, there he comes. This is like a lot of nonprofit organizations. Nobody gets paid, and there's a lot of work involved, and they've been very faithful members. So, Ken, you want to get those plaques?
Yes.
Thank you.
Where you going with first?
We'll do Lynn here. Got a comment or two?
Well, this is pretty neat. It's a kind of a bittersweet night for me. We moved down to Kansas, so not very practical to be on the board anymore where we're at, but I've really enjoyed being on this and having a great pin. Look like Bob, done a lot of trips with them, road trips, going to scouting and what have you, and it's just an honor to hang out with all these guys, honestly. I've really enjoyed it, so I feel humbled to even be here.
Okay, Jerry.
Thank you, Bob. First, I want to say thanks to my family who's here tonight, supporting me. But I guess I'm a little bit surprised how many people came out to celebrate that I was leaving. I want to thank you, everybody, especially this guy right here. I know we have a lot of stars and very fortunate to have pro people in our organization from up and down, but in my mind, this guy right here is Mr. Baseball of Nebraska.
Amen.
He said that exactly the way I told him to.
Oh, let's get a picture of you, Jerry.
Thank you.
Okay. I want to bring Allison Leonard up here. Every year we give a donation to a worthy organization. Allison's the executive director of the YMCA here in Beatrice, and probably 4,000 or 5,000 members. They have a lot of good programs for various people, and she's going to tell us about what this year's donation goes to, and I think she's just a really sharp kid. She's also my daughter.
Well, I'll go along with that, and I'm not even a relative. She's done an awesome job in this community in Beatrice, I can tell you, and so we like to give back too, even though we're a nonprofit organization. Little token, something there for you, $250.
Thank you.
Thanks for the good job you do here. It's been fun knowing you.
Yeah,
There you
me
go.
too.
Thank you so much. So for those of you that have attended over the last couple of years, typically you guys have been gracious and given to one of our programs called the Live Strong program, which is for cancer survivors. Well, this year we decided that it was time for us to develop a new program for veterans in our community. And my handsome sidekick back there is a veteran combat vet. And we've had regular conversations about what we can do in our community for veterans. And that stemmed around, maybe the VA needed to have a gym and that sort of thing. And I thought, well, why the VA? Why not the YMCA? So we are kicking off at the first of the year a program for combat vets led by a combat vet, one-on-one, essentially personal training in our wellness center. I'm working on not only your physical health, but mental health. Recently, the Surgeon General just said that we're in a crisis for mental health, and many of us probably are living that or understand that, and that is an area that our YMCA has decided to focus on, and we thought we would focus specifically right now on veterans. And so this money will go towards sponsoring a vet that would like to be part of that program. It's a 6-week free membership to our YMCA, one-on-one interaction with another combat vet, and hopes to just create another family within our Y and to help with overall mental health and physical health. So something that I'm really excited about. My grandpa served, and I have many other friends and family that have served, and very much, I think sometimes we forget the sacrifice and the things that they have done for our country. And so, most importantly, I appreciate that, and we want to make sure that in our community we are providing opportunities to give back at all times, and I think this is certainly a group of individuals that are worthy of giving back to. So I appreciate your donation.
That's great.
Couple more things to replace Lynn on the board. We've asked Steve Smith, who for many years now has done all the matting and framing for all this, donates a lot of it that we don't even pay for it. So that's pretty outstanding, and he said he'd be feel honored to be on this board, so go ahead and feel honored, because you're going to get to start working. There's Steve. Thanks, Steve. I got to tell one really brief story yet concerning his son, Ryan Smith. Stand up, Ryan. Ryan is a veteran. It's a great story. He was our bat boy for 5-6 years with the Bruins. Him and his dad would come down from Lincoln for every single home game. I don't think I ever gave him any gas money either. So
Still waiting.
still waiting. But Ryan decided, he graduated from Pius High School in Lincoln a number of years ago, and decided he's going to join the armed forces. They turned him down because he said he didn't weigh enough. He weighed 100 pounds, and you needed to weigh 110 in order to be accepted. So he got fattened up, on malts and stuff. And he was then accepted. And a couple of years ago, he gives me this big, beautiful picture of him standing next to his Black Hawk helicopter in Kandahar, Afghanistan. He served two tours of duty there, and he's still a member of the armed forces, and I think that's a great deal. I'm going to give him a big hand. Okay, we're going to get started with the inductions for this evening. We have 7 of them, and we ask each of them to hold their comments to 5 minutes. One year we had a guy from north part of the state who spent 32 minutes, and it didn't please us. So we have a limit, a 5. You got that, Renee? Okay.
God rest his soul.
The first inductee is going to be Renee Brinkmann, and Ron's going to introduce her inductee.
Actually, I was given the honor, and it is an honor, to present her. However, I am going to relinquish that honor. There are 3 guys here that really deserve that more than me. One would be Darin, one would be, where is he? There he is.
Will.
Anyway, I think I need to turn this over to Will Bolt. I'd like to say this.
Mike, Ron, let's go.
I'd like to say this. she's the third woman being inducted into our Hall of Fame, and she certainly deserves it. Bill was with her as a player, and now as a coach for several years, and now as a head coach. So I think he deserves it. Rob Childress was another guy. I see him sitting back there now. And he was also, but they have speaking gigs. So I'll turn it over to Will.
5 minutes, Rob. Well, as he so succinctly put it, it's my honor tonight, and I appreciate the board here recognizing Renee. She's certainly, to those that maybe are on the outside looking in of Husker baseball, maybe a bit of an unsung hero, but those of us that have been around her for 40 years now, 40 years in the athletic department, 36 with Nebraska baseball, we certainly realize that the work that she does is not unsung. It's front and center to us, and what she means to us, each and every former player, former coach, fan, the junior home run club, the home run club that we had back in the day. Everybody understands how much she's meant to our program through the years. So I thank the board for recognizing her tonight and the work that she's done, the service that she's put in. And, you know, some may look at it like I'm her boss, but it's far from that. She's actually my boss. That's the way it works in our office. And she gave me like strict orders, like, hey, keep your talk really short, because she was going to try to break the 33-minute record. Those that know her know how much she loves to talk and just a chatty person. I know she's really looking forward to getting up here and visiting with you guys tonight. So, Renee, very thankful for everything you've done for us through the years. I can look back 25 years ago. I'm kind of dating myself a little bit now, but 25 years ago, I'm coming up from Texas. That's my hometown, is down in Houston, Texas, and my folks are dropping me off, and you know, Renee said, she looked at my parents in the eye. She said, you know, we're going to take good care of Will while he's here. She didn't realize at the time she was signing up for a lifetime contract to take care of him, because she's still doing that. But just everything that you've done, what you've meant, and we got a lot of baseball people in this room, obviously, and you know, just to put it in terms of baseball, Renee is the ultimate ball player. And when I say that, she's the one that's the glue. She's the one that does the dirty work, the work behind the scenes, the things that you may not know that just run smoothly, and it's because of her. And you know, every great organization, great team needs those glue guys. They need those ball players that do the dirty work. They wear the hit-by pitches. They get their uniforms dirty. They lay down their sacrifice bunts. They may not get all the accolades, but they make everybody else's job and lives a lot easier. And Renee's the ultimate ball player. Really thrilled to be able to introduce you tonight. Renee, congratulations on being inducted to the Nebraska Baseball Hall of Fame.
All right, well, I'm going to just start off. This is way out of my element tonight. I do not do public speaking. I am a behind-the-scenes kind of gal, and that's the way I like it. So that being said, thank you, Will, for the nice comments. Let me just start by saying people that get Hall of Fame honors are people that you typically know. They're professional athletes, they're professional musicians, they're actors, they're managers, they're important people. And so to honor someone tonight like myself, you can call me a secretary, you can call me a receptionist, you can call me an administrative assistant. I enjoy being behind the scenes. And so getting this honor tonight is especially grateful for that. So let me just say that. That being said, if you go to Huskers.com and look at my bio, I'm not gonna lie, it's about that big. It's maybe 3 or 4 sentences. And I bring no flashy stats tonight to tell you what I have done and what I have not done. Again, you will not see me on the field. You will not see me sitting in the dugout. And heck, you won't even hear my name announced and pregame announcements on game day. And that's the way I like it. I'm not gonna lie, when I first started back in 1987, it was extremely overwhelming. What goes into running or being involved with Nebraska baseball. That being said, I have booked thousands of airline tickets, and I have reserved thousands of hotel rooms, and I have processed millions of dollars of meal receipts, but I think a lot of people don't even really know what I do, and that's okay. It gets done. But I wanted to share a quick story with you tonight. It was several years ago. It's a true story. The team was in East Lansing, Michigan. It's a Sunday night, and about 10 o'clock I get a phone call. Hey, Renee, I think we're gonna have problems getting home tonight. Okay, I'll stay up. Give me a call when you know for sure. So sure enough, my cell phone rings again. It's about midnight. Hey, Renee, our flight's been canceled. What do you want us to do? Okay, so I won't lie, that is probably the first time in my 35 years working for Nebraska baseball that I panicked. I've got 49 people sitting at the airport in East Lansing, Michigan at midnight, and they've called me and want to know, what are we supposed to do? So I went into problem-solving mode, and I said, okay, here's what I want you to do. Let's not panic. I want you to go to the United counter, and I want you to ask for the manager, and I want you to find out what they have planned for your return either tonight or in the morning. And then we'll work around that, we'll make it work, and we'll get you home. Silence. I said, I'll stay up, just call me back. Renee, the airport is closed. There's nobody at the United counter. The airport is closed, and the custodian has said that we can stay here until you figure out what you're gonna do. Great. And they had ordered Domino's pizza for the guys, so you've got a little time. So, why I share this story with you is that night, it took a lot of people behind the scenes to get that group of people back home. And I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't a smooth trip, it wasn't a quick trip, but it was the custodian who took care of them at the airport. It was the 3 bus companies that I worked with to get them home. It was a sales manager at the hotel in Chicago that did whatever she had to do to get the rooms ready for the team. And it was the travel agent who was up with me most of the night trying to put a plan together. So there was a lot of people involved, in some that they knew and some that they didn't even know was part of the problem. I was going to share with you tonight some text messages that I got from the head coach that night. But I thought that since he's being inducted tonight, and he's one of my dearest friends, that I thought maybe we wouldn't go that route. But I will tell you that the text messages were in all capital letters. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was several months before we even talked about this when he got back, or laughed about it. But anyway, again, it takes a lot of people behind the scenes to get things done, and that's kind of what my role is with the program. And I have thoroughly enjoyed every minute of it. I know wins and losses are a big deal. I get it. But for me, it's more about the people that you surround yourself with and the people that are your support group. And so tonight, I want to thank my husband, Kurt. He provides me with a calmness. He helps me realize that everything is not as a big deal as you might think. The coaches and the staff, I'm very, very lucky over the years. Players, alumni, fans, parents, There's a lot of people involved, and I've been very lucky. So we're just several days away from Thanksgiving, and I just want to say, figure out who the people are in your life that are your support team, who take care of you, that you may or may not even know about them, but they're very important to all of us. So I am very, very, very grateful for the honor tonight, and I thank you very much.
Who's my next one? Okay.
Next inductee is going to be Brian Duensing. Come on up here, Brian. I have a little story about him too. After do this for 40 years as a coach, and he was a little left-handed pitcher at the University of Nebraska, and in fact, he played for my select team the fall before he went to the University of Nebraska. He was I'm not going to say scrawny, but small stature, little left-handed pitcher, and Rob Childress. You know, we always took 4 players from Nebraska for our summer team. He says, "You ought to take this Duensing kid," and he was 82, 84 mile an hour, little left-hander with a little breaking pitch, and I thought, you know, we could maybe put him off for a year or two, and, you know, Rob, what else you got? And so Rob, he sent me somebody else, and fast forward to the Dairy Queen Classic the next year. He's on the mound against Wake Forest. I was scouting. I had a radar gun. He's throwing 94 miles an hour. Wow. And he got a little better. And then he spent 10 years in the major leagues. To me, I'm trying to figure out if there's any other left-handed pitchers from the University of Nebraska in the modern era that were any better than he was. I can't think of any. So Rob Childress is going to give us some comments about Brian. So come on up, Rob.
You want to sit back down?
Yeah.
Good call.
So I got a call a couple of weeks ago from Bob, and after he asked for a donation, asked if I would be so kind as to introduce Brian Duensing. And I thought you were going to go ahead and introduce him yourself, since I didn't give you that donation. I thought you were going to steal all my stories. But first off, I'd like to say congratulations to all 7 inductees tonight. You guys have all led a life of impact in the sport of baseball. It's just been the vehicle we're all in. That's why we're here tonight. But I'm incredibly honored to introduce Brian Duensing tonight. And I think back to the summer of 2000. I'd gone and watched him pitch 2 or 3 times up at Miller South in Omaha, and I finally told myself the last time I was going to see him, if he touches 86 today, I'm recruiting this guy. There's something about him. He's just got a great feel to pitch. He can swing the bat a little bit too, but I think he's going to be a left-handed pitcher. That day he touches 86 miles an hour. I set up an in-home visit and go to his house. His mom and dad, Kit and Sherry, answer the door. I walk in, I go, we're going to make this guy a Husker. I go in, we go down to the basement, and the basement is completely purple. Kit and Sherry are huge Kansas State Wildcats fans, and I just thought, you know what, I got my hands full. This is not going to happen. But I took the challenge, and we ended up getting him, and he graduated in the spring of '01. That summer, he hit .522, and he started telling me, hey, Coach, I know you recruited me as a pitcher, but I'm going to tell you, have you seen my stats lately this summer? I'm doing pretty good. So I had to go check the stats of his major league career and the at-bats that he had. He had 12 at-bats in the major leagues. I think Last time, I had to check twice, he had 0 hits and 8 strikeouts. I think he had a couple of walks, so he did have an on-base percentage. But he arrived at a great time for Nebraska baseball, and he stepped in right away. As a freshman in 2002, he went 6-2 on a College World Series team. Pitched in 18 games, started 12. And throughout the postseason on our way to Omaha, he won 11.2 innings of scoreless baseball in the regionals and super regionals. It was a huge part of the reason that team made it. As a sophomore, in the fall of 2002, he had a couple of major setbacks, physical setbacks, and I just remember the first one was probably the biggest one. As we were going through the fall, we had something off the field problem with the team, and so we meet at Memorial Stadium about 5 in the morning. We called that a breakfast club back then. I don't know if we can anymore, but to this day, I've coached for 31, 32 years. Brian is the only player that had a concussion from doing somersaults on AstroTurf. Obviously, Kent Sherry didn't send him to gymnastics when he was little. They sent him to baseball or something else. So we had to deal with that, but he got off to a great start as a sophomore and then ended up hurting his elbow week 4. Tried to rehab it. It didn't work. He ended up having surgery and missed the 2004 season. Came back in 2005 on a special team. That 2005 team won everything they could but a national championship, and Brian was right in the middle of all of that. He went 8-0 in 23 appearances, 10 starts. And in the conference tournament, he went 15 2/3 innings in the conference tournament. I think the pitching coach on that 05 team had a screw loose, but Brian did start game 1 against Texas Tech, went 8 innings, left with a lead on a game we eventually lost out of the bullpen, then came back, started a championship game on Sunday against Baylor, and I said, Brian, just get us off to a good start, give us 4 or 5, we'll see what happens after that. He ends up getting us through into the 8th and handed it off to Brett Jensen. We ended up winning that championship, but Brian finished his Husker career with 17-2. He had 45 appearances and 26 starts. That's kind of a theme for Brian. He was such a huge impact on our staffs. He was in 45 games, went 17-2, but only started 26 games. He was so selfless, and he was willing to do whatever he could. Coach, I don't care where you use me, start me, use me out of the pen, close me. I just want to help the team win. He ended up being a 3rd-round pick, went on to a 10-year Major League career for the Twins, the Royals, the Orioles, and the Cubs. And he got an opportunity to be in the playoffs on 4 different occasions. But his greatest experience was getting an opportunity to play for the USA team, Beijing Olympics in 2008. You know, as you go through all of the stats that Brian had during his career, not just at the University of Nebraska, but in professional baseball, they more than qualify him for the Nebraska Baseball Hall of Fame. But all those numbers pale in comparison to the person that Brian is. I knew it when he was 17 years old. His character, the way he treated people, he's always been so mature and so humble. And I always say this, you know, as long as I've coached, people are who they are when they're 17 or 18 years old. They'll change a little bit throughout the course of their growth, but you can pretty much go back to where they were at 18 years old, and that's who they're going to be when they're 35 years old. And, you know, it's easy to see what's made Brian so successful, and that's because of who he is, not what he's done. Good things happen to good people, and Brian's had a great career, but it pales in comparison to his wife, Lisa, and the husband that he is to her, and the father that he is to McKenna, Boston, Breslin, and Brayson. And he's a friend to so many. And to me, as I've done this and I've coached all these years, the best compliment I've ever given a player is to be able to tell him, I've always admired you as a person more so than a player. So please join me tonight in welcoming Brian Duensing to the Nebraska Baseball Hall of Fame.
Who's next?
Me, I'm next.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm next. Gosh. Well, thanks, Rob. That's weird. I don't like calling you Rob. Thanks, Coach. I'm 40 years old, and I'm still intimidated by him to this day. About a year ago, he FaceTimed me to ask if I could come hunting down at his property. I didn't have the balls just to say no. So I was stumbling around, and in the background, his wife Amanda said, "You're a man, just tell him no." Couldn't do it. And like Sarah told me to sit down, I sat down so fast. Renee, congratulations, that's awesome. Super happy for you. You couldn't have said it any better, so thank you for that. Congratulations to everyone that's getting inducted tonight. These are my people right here, this table. Yeah, these are my support group. These are what got me to where I'm at. Can't do it by yourself. It takes people behind the scenes, like Renee said. And my wife of 17 years as of yesterday. We both have forgotten. So it's going really well, very well. Has been there through everything, and it's kind of cool the kids get to be here. My youngest daughter keeps asking me when it's my turn, so here I am. But I just want to thank everybody. This is an amazing honor. I didn't play baseball to do this. I played because it was fun, and I was too small to play football. Like Coach Childress said, I did grow up a K-State football fan, and my goal was to play football at Kansas State. My freshman year of high school, I was 5'4", 120 pounds soaking wet, and was the tackling dummy, and so I quit after that year. I didn't know it was a good idea or the right move until I was sitting on the curb my sophomore year of high school. Football practice is going on, I'm obviously not playing, waiting for my mom to pick me up. And the football coach walks by for my freshman year and says, "Hey, what are you doing, not playing football this year?" I said, "No, I'm gonna focus on baseball." And he gave me a pat on the shoulder and he said, "Good call." So that was awesome. I knew I was at least going in the right direction for a little while. But I do really appreciate this honor. This is something I never thought would ever happen, along with everything else that happened in my career also. But it wouldn't have been able to happen if I didn't have parents that took me where I needed to go, grandparents that helped donate to all the fundraisers, aunt and uncles to do the same thing. It takes a group. Like Renee said, I think she should be in public speaking, by the way. That was fantastic. But it takes people behind the scenes. And these are my behind the scenes people. And I'm glad they're here. I'm going to keep it short because I know Darin said he wants to go long. And I just really appreciate everything. Thank you so much. Thank you, Coach, for that introduction. That was amazing. When I found out it was going to be you, I got really excited. I don't know anybody else I'd want to do it. So I really appreciate it. Thank you, everybody.
Bruce Reed.
I do recall being in Kauffman Stadium when Brian won his first major league game. As a matter of fact, right after the game, there's 50 or 100 relatives all by the dugout, and so I never did say congratulations, but I was there. Okay. Our next inductee will be Bruce Reed. Come on up, Bruce. And Lynn Shaleski will do the induction.
When I heard I was going to do Bruce Reed, I thought, that's my old boss from years ago, different Bruce Reed, moved around quite a bit, so I called him up a couple of months ago. And so how ironic, because I knew I had Bruce Reed down in Texas when I was working down there, and here I am introducing you. But I was talking to Mike Metz while we were up there earlier. I said, "You must be a comparable age. Did you play?" He says, "Oh yeah, I played against Bruce Reed." He said, "You could hit the crap out of that ball." He said, "From the looks of him, I bet he still can." So I'm thinking you probably still can. But Bruce began his career at Lincoln Northeast, where he was a standout Legion player for Judd Brothers, and among other honors, and he's got a bunch of them. He's first team All-State in '76, and at Wesleyan, he's first team All-Conference in '76, '7, '8, and '9. Pretty amazing. He was named a Division III District 5 team during those same years. He graduated with 127 hits, 98 RBIs, and a .357 average. Awesome. His semi-pro career ranged from 77 to 91 and included many teams, including Owens Mobile, with a 442 average there, Johnny's leading hitter and state runner-up and NBC tourney participant in 78. He played in the Cornhusker League with the York Flyers from 79 to 80. They're the league champs and 1981. He played in the Independent League in 82 with Waverly, Falstaff, and Lincoln Falstaff in 83, and all-star selection both years. So, Bruce, I want you to take over here. You've got your story down better than I do, but I really want to congratulate you for getting this award.
Okay, well, we stopped at 1983, and I went a bit longer than that, and that's when we combined with the Lincoln Runza team, and we got to battle Mike's team. The first year, or the second year, we were Runza in the state finals, and it was Mark Honor and Mike Metz battling each other. I think we were all kind of trying to get a hit. We ended up winning the game 2-1, I think. I think, Mike, you struck out 18 in the game, and I think Mark struck out 19. There weren't a lot of hits being that night, and it was quite a baseball game. But that was 1985, I believe it was. And then we continued on, and at Runza. That was the first year that I was actually the manager of Runza as well as a player. And we continued on from 1985 to 1990, and we won 3 championships during that time, and we were second 2 other times. So it was quite a run. And I didn't get there that time without the help of a lot of people. And before I go any further, first of all, I want to thank the Hall of Fame committee for inducting me into this. I truly am honored. I mean, you grow up loving the game of baseball. I loved playing sports. It didn't matter what it was. I played football at Westland 4 years. I played baseball. I could have made a choice, I suppose. Darin, you got to play both too. You know how great it was playing both sports in your life and how much fun you had doing those things. And I got to do that, and that was one of the great things in my life that I got to, just enjoy. But beyond that, all the inductees tonight are very, I feel very humbled to be up here because, of all the great accolades you guys have all done, some of the things that I've done, that's the best that I could do. And so the good Lord put me on this earth. I had certain abilities that I could do, and I think I took it to the best that I could make myself. And that was getting to that point, and we really enjoyed doing it along the way. I've coached football for 45 years now, and I still enjoy that competition. So it's the competition that we get to play. I don't get to play anymore, but you find a venue where you can be involved with the game. And those are really important. And I think as I watched my kids grow up, I hope that I instilled in them the competitive edge that they saw with me playing these games that I got to play, the sacrifices that they made. You do a lot when you're coaching or playing, you're doing all these things. Somebody has to sacrifice, and a lot of times it's your family that takes the back burner, but they're watching you do these things, and they see how much you love what you're doing. And I think they benefit from seeing that, seeing the dedication, the extra work that it takes to be the best that you can be. And I really, thank my family, my wife, Mindy. For 40 years, we just celebrated our 40th anniversary this summer. I have 2 of my children here, Walter, who played football at the University of South Dakota and is continued on with being very competitive with whatever we do, like playing cards and things like that at home. My youngest daughter, Molly, and she was a competitive athlete in high school too. And you just see that, and you're so proud of what your kids do, and you kind of live through them. Now, looking back at my life, I grew up on a ball field. My dad played softball. He's in the Nebraska baseball or softball Hall of Fame. His name is Glenn Reed. He died when I was 15 years old. Okay, 1973, I lost him. Okay, but he instilled in me those things, those drives, and loving of the game, okay? We grew up at Muni Field in Lincoln, Nebraska, and I don't know if I ever watched him play, but we were playing baseball, we were doing things on the side, and we were getting dirty, and we were getting in trouble and doing all those fun things at the ballpark. So when I got a little bit older, like in 1973, I was starting, this would be my second year of Legion Baseball, and Bill Fagler, who's here, who's a Hall of Famer, he was my coach from 1972 to 1976. Okay, so learning the fundamentals and doing those things as you grew as a person, like you said, Brian, you were 5'4", 120 pounds. That's what I was as a ninth grader, okay? We grew a lot, you know. I got a lot bigger, obviously. I didn't quit football. I love football, so I kept playing. But it was one of those things. You had people in your background or that had your back, and they were doing things for you. Okay, I just learned a lot from Bill. I didn't know where I was going to play. I'm a left-handed first baseman, but I was playing outfield. My dad was an outfielder, and I loved being an outfielder, but I wasn't fast enough to be an outfielder. But I could hit the ball pretty good. So he said, well, let's try first base. Okay, so that's where I started, and that's where I ended up playing for all these years that we played semi-pro baseball. And thanks, Bill, for doing that. And then Bill and I also got to coach together at Lincoln Northeast. For 12 years, I was his assistant coach. And here again, we get to give back to the kids, help them with the fundamentals, make them better players. And you really get, I really get a lot of joy out of seeing somebody do really well. And that's kind of why I'm still doing it. And you're trying to find that thing as you're working your way through there. So when I was at Westland in 75 to 78, Ron Bachman was my baseball coach. The greatest thing that Ron did for me was he put me in the lineup every day. I got to play every game at Westland. 4 years, didn't matter. Every game I got to play. So thanks, Coach. He's no longer with us. But he knew, I guess, he had the confidence in me that I was going to get the job done for him at Westland. And we won 2 conference championships. We made it to the Division III playoffs my freshman year. And we got knocked out. We were supposed to play in Lincoln, and it rained, and our coach was so nice. He said, no, we'll go play. And we went and played Monmouth University in Western Illinois, and we lost the 2 out of 3 series there in the 10th inning of the 3rd game. And we had a really good team, which was unfortunate for us. Now, growing up, my brother Scott, who's here, he's 4 years younger than I am, and he got to play a lot of baseball with me. In the backyard, we played wiffle ball. You learn how to hit the baseball when you're playing wiffle ball. That ball doesn't go straight. And he, he was a lot younger than I was, and I pretty much dominated him. But as he got older, he became a pretty good player too, and I got the opportunity to play real baseball with him for 10 years. Okay, so in 1980, he became, and we were talking about this today, he became a semi-pro player after he got done with his Legion season, and he also played for Bill. And the first pitcher that he faced was Zane Smith. And if you guys know who Zane Smith is, he pitched in the major leagues, and he was from North Platte. And we were playing the state tournament at Staplehurst, Nebraska. If you've ever been to Staplehurst, you know that the lights aren't very good. It's nighttime. And we asked Scott, hey, what do you see? What'd you see? He said, Scott, I didn't see anything. I don't know what he pitched. But he was throwing it real hard. So that's Scott's induction. And those things that you do as a kid growing up, those are really important. And you work your way there. And then once we began, and I went through all these different things in playing semi-pro baseball, we were doing it, to get better. Okay, well, I was still in college, that's why I did it. But then once college got done, it was more just fun, okay? And camaraderie with your friends, okay? Who are my friends? Mark Honors, one of my closest friends, sitting over there. He's a Hall of Famer. Charlie Colon, who's not here, he played with me in 1990 or 89 and 90. He played with the Polecats. He's a Hall of Famer. Bill Fagler, who coached, and I coached with, Hall of Famer. The Haas brothers, if you know the Haas brothers from Lincoln, Mark, Stan, Dan, they're great players at the University of Nebraska. They played with us with Runza. Pat Neal, who was a Northeast grad. He played a long time, Kenny Misfelt, and so on and so on. All these guys we're still getting together now, okay? So this is 30 years ago, and we had a 30-year reunion from the 1985 game, our state championship team, 2 or 3 years ago, and it was just like we hadn't missed a beat. We were all the same guys, and we were just all being friends again. At my 40th wedding, my kids gave me a surprise, gave me and my wife a surprise party on my 40th anniversary. Never thought of it. And all these guys were at the party. It was great. So that's what baseball has done for me, and I appreciate everything you guys have done. Thank you, the Hall, for putting me in this place. I truly am honored, guys, and I don't have anything more to say. Thank you. Thank you very much.
One more induction before we have our great live auction. Mark Mancuso will do the honors for Rich SHEFTE.
Rich, why don't you just make your way up here? Renee, I appreciate you. I can identify with you. I was a coach of small college in which I was secretary, travel agent, SID, accountant, father figure, and whatever job needed to be done. And I enjoyed it too. And it's nice to be recognized, but it's also nice to be anonymous sometimes, isn't it? So I do appreciate Renee and the work she does, as well as many others that are at other universities and high schools. This is my friend Rich SHEFTE. We both played 4 years together at UNO back in the 70s. I know we're the same age. We don't look it, but I'm one of the young guys on the board of directors, so I have that going for me. Rich, very humble guy. I doubt if he's going to tell you much about himself. His humility was only exceeded by his work ethic. I played with him. I enjoyed it. He has, or had, probably still has, freakish hands. I've never been around somebody with as quick of hands as he had. He was a shortstop, and he wore a glove that was hardly any bigger than his hand. And we all looked at his glove and went, how do you use that thing? I mean, it was amazing. And he was a guy that hit home runs. I think I was telling his family earlier, when we were playing in our senior year, the UNO newspaper came up to me and said, I want to do a story on you. And I thought, wow, this is surprising. And we played a 4-game set with Morningside, and Rich hit a home run in each game, and he hit a walk-off home run in the 4th game. And the journalist came up to me and said, I'm interviewing him. And so I lost my opportunity, but I understood. An anecdotal story about his quick hands. We were playing Creighton at Booth Field one year, and I was on second base. Rich was up to bat. And any of you who are older probably remember Creighton's field, but the ball kind of traveled there a little better down by the bridge. I don't know, it was a weird field. And so I'm at second, I'm leading off. There's a pitch to Rich, he gets jammed, he hits the ball to left field, he slams the bat down on the ground in disgust. Okay, I'm getting my secondary looking whether I should tag up or whether I should run. The ball goes over the fence. And, you know, Rich was shocked that the ball, I don't know if you remember that. Yeah, but embarrassing. But that was part of his freakish hands, his ability. We played, as I mentioned, 4 years in college together and probably another 10 years after that. We were playing in a regional semifinal. I think it was our sophomore year. It was raining. We were ahead by 1. The other team had the tying run on third, and it's misting, it's raining. And, you know, one of those games where you throw the ball, but you can't quite get the feel for it. The dugout after the game was praying that the ball would be hit to Rich. He was playing short, I was playing second, and I was praying that they would hit the ball to Rich. And they hit the ball, ground ball to Rich, and he threw the guy out at first, and we won the game. So that was the kind of guy he was. And just to show you the difference between Rich and myself, in 1978, Rich went to play baseball in Alaska with some of the best players in the country, and I went to Beatrice. Oh, sorry, Bob.
And we beat those Alaska teams.
Bob always zings me, so I got to get him back once in a while. But in 1978, Rich was a D2, Division II All-American, and he deserved it. He had an injury that happened, I think, when Legion Ball, your senior year, and that kind of stymied his growth, but it would not have surprised me if Rich would have made it to the major leagues, but the injury cut his pro career short. He was drafted in the 6th round by the Minnesota Twins, and it's my honor today just to tell you a few things about Rich, who, if some of you older people, Mike Metz, we played with Mike at UNO, and it was our honor to play with Rich, and I'm very happy to be able to tell you a little bit about him in 2023, about this excellent athlete.
Thank you for those great words. So good evening and thank you. I'm humbled and very appreciative. And Bruce, thanks for taking some of my time. Appreciate that. Before we were leaving the house, my wife asked me if I was nervous. And I said, yeah, I am. She goes, well, you know there's going to be over 100 people there. I go, thanks. That really helps. But anyway, I retired almost 2 years ago, and it was a little bit scary. But then I realized I have a lot to look forward to. I get to spend time with my wife, Jill, family, friends, travel, and as far as athletic goes, maybe a good round of golf once in a while and a pickleball shot here and there. But as far as baseball goes, I can look back and have some terrific memories, but I have one that I'd like to file under what was I thinking. It was right after I finished minor league ball, and a friend of mine was taking a class at UNO. And he asked if I'd be interested in coming in with Bruce Benedict, and we could compare minor league baseball with major league baseball. I said, well, that could be fun. So as I sat there and they peppered Bruce with question after question after question, I finally heard, hey, Rich, did minor leagues suck as much as we've heard? I said, yeah, it did. But like all of you other guys, I enjoyed everything about sports, the games, practices, the friendships. I remember back in junior high, I convinced my mom that I needed to stay home from school, and she let me. She went off to work, and I looked at my clock. It's almost 3 o'clock, almost basketball practice. So off to basketball practice I went, only to find out next day that you can't do that if you're not well enough for school. No. Anyway, needless to say, all those memories, I could take a step back at all those practices and games and realize just how much fun it was I was playing. And I wish I had told my kids to take a step back while they were playing in soccer games and all their other sporting events. Take a step back and enjoy it while you can, because it does go by awfully quickly. And then one thing I'm going to impress on my grandkids as well is think about it and enjoy it. But once again, thank you, board and everybody, for this great honor. And I'd like to thank my family who come out here for support, my wife Jill, my daughter Jordan, my son Connor and his fiance Louie, my sister Kathy, whose birthday is today, happy birthday, and her husband Merle, my brother and sister-in-law Randy and Patty, thanks for coming and showing your support. Thanks, guys.
The next induction will be John BACUS, and he'll be enshrined by Mike Metz.
John, you might as well work your way up here. John BACUS, an umpire. Thing is, when you have a game, and usually the umps get together and go over the ground rules or something, if he's not doing the plate, he's probably going to be 250 feet down the right field line, stretching, doing his calisthenics, whatever. And he usually works out a little bit harder before the game than some of the players do. And probably a lot of that is because he's always in great shape. The guy plays basketball still. He's been teaching over 50 years, won national awards for it. So the guy's got to have a lot of patience if you've been an umpire and a teacher. I don't know how you could do either one of those two, because you're always taking grief. He is a great guy. The thing is, I see him umpire still all the time, and there's very few times that you say, okay, I'm glad he's coming to our game today, because you're going to get a fair job. He's not partial to anything. He's just the guy that, for an umpire, if you don't know he's there, he's doing a good job. He doesn't make it about himself, and I don't know what else you could say about an ump that you wouldn't want more out of a guy like that. So I'm going to turn it over to John, and he's a great umpire and a great guy.
Well, first of all, I want to make sure my brother doesn't get to give a rebuttal, so don't listen to anything he says. When Mike called me in July, I just got home from Coach's Clinic. I still teach and coach at Elkhorn High School. I'm only in my 47th year. Actually, next year will be 48. I was shocked. I thought, and the first thing I asked, who else is going in? He goes, Darin, Erstad, and Brian Duensing. I said, I feel like a pair of brown shoes on a tuxedo. And it got me thinking, how did I get here? It was never a goal to be in the Hall of Fame as an umpire. When I was a little kid, I got thinking. I had Grandpa and Grandma. Every Saturday I'd go up, help in the garden, and watch games. They loved baseball. And my grandma would get out a scorecard. We'd keep score. But my grandpa had talked about a guy named Grover Cleveland Alexander. He'd actually got to catch him a couple times, town team games back then. He told me the story about Alexander 1926 World Series, winning Game 6, then going out and tying one on. He knew old Pete. But the next day, coming in against the Yankees, 7th inning, bases loaded, and striking out, pushing up Tony Lazzari and winning the game. I'm really fortunate, and it got me interested in the history of baseball. And then as I got a little older, I was a paper boy. Well, the postmaster is a guy named Burl Lang. If you look, he's in the Hall of Fame here. He played 5 years with the San Francisco Seals. Last year, he played with a guy named Joe DiMaggio. And believe you me, I got listened to stories and became further interested in the history of baseball, reading about it. And so as a kid, first thing, I was a bat boy and loved to go out and just grab the bat. And then I progressed up to playing in Litchfield. When I was 9, I got to play with the 12-year-old team because there was only 9 guys from 12 to age 9. It was not a very big town. Eventually went to Ravenna, where I played pony league for a guy named Bob Stickney, who'd played a little bit in the majors. And then my Legion coach was Roy Greenslet. Greenie was the captain of the Nebraska baseball team in 1910 and went back. And eventually, last game I went 0-for-3, so I knew I wasn't going to make it in as a player. Greenie had me manage the next 2 years. first year, my second year managing at St. Paul, I got to manage the first game at Grover Alexander Field. I still remember it. I had 10 players. They had a button you could call the press box. Called them once, fourth inning. Lost that game 9-1. Not going to make it in as a manager. Went on to college. I played football and basketball. I thought my baseball days were over, but I still love baseball. And I didn't have much time. Go football, basketball, spring football. But when district tournaments would come around, I could go watch. I remember seeing Ken Vergeth pitching for Kearney. My junior year, they played Wayne State was the power. And I remember a guy named Jerry Frericks hitting one over the street in the parking lot at Kearney. Wow, that guy's something else. But you came back through what, did you throw 16 straight innings? Did Murph leave you in that long?
13 2/3.
13 2/3. Kearney wins. So next year, districts were at Broken Bow, of all places, 32 miles from my hometown. Go up, and I saw Mike Erdahl play. Just inductee here posthumously. Saw him play for Dana. But Kearney played Wayne for the championship. Game went 16 innings. Got over at 1:30 in the morning. I was the only fan left. The SIDs said, come on up in the press box and watch. And I still remember Frericks hit a ball off the center field fence in the 14th inning, but he only got a single. Jerry wasn't real fast. Pulled him for a pinch runner. Thought that'd be the end of the story. Next year, I come to Elkhorn. Jerry Frericks comes to Elkhorn. There's probably 4 people that really influenced my life. Jerry started the Legion program. I said, hey, I used to play and coach. You need an assistant. He said, what I really need is an umpire. Okay, I just want to be part of the game. So that first year, I did 2 Little League games. I got $4 for the one game behind the plate, $2 for one on the bases, but got $10 each time I did the Legion game. Paid for my wife and I's vacation that summer. So went on from there, just doing Elkhorn games. Well, 6 years later, they got in the Iowa-Nebraska League. He said, hey, if you want to do those games, you have to join Midwest umpires. I go, what's that? He goes, call a guy named Joe Stanek. So I went to a meeting at Buck's Shoes down on 24th Street. For the first time ever, got training and learned from a guy that knew a lot about umpiring. And began to learn, I remember one night I made a big mistake. Everybody said, hey, you got to stick with your call. Called Joe the next day, said, John, they put erasers on pencils. You can change the call. Okay. One of the last times I ever worked with Joe, I was at Rosenblatt Stadium, NAI playoffs. He does a plate, I'm on the bases. We got Hastings College, Jim BOEVE, first time I ever met him. Okay. Ended up, I had the championship game then, you had Bellevue. Okay, great guy. Fun night. What I remember, especially the year before I did the playoffs, with Mike Evans, and you never knew what you're going to get. But the year before, 4-3 game went 3 hours and 55 minutes. AD came in from the game, gave me the balls, and I said, Jerry, I may not get all the calls right. In fact, I know I won't. But I'll guarantee you one thing. We will not be here 3 hours and 55 minutes. I'll never, it was 2:10. You got beat 5-0. He came in and goes, good job. Real good job. So learning from Joe and sitting with him that night, Rosenblatt Stadium for an hour and a half, listening to him tell stories, just fed into what I love about being part of baseball. The third person's my wife, who's never seen me umpire. Doesn't care. She's not even here tonight. My boys, Rich and Kyle, are here. Cousins, Diane, Judy, and Doug, Janet, and my brother Chuck. She doesn't care. Okay, never has. That's why I married her. She never criticized my coaching. But one night, about 5-6 years in working Midwest, I was getting ready to leave. She goes, sit down. I mean it, sit down. Okay. This umpiring, is it a job or a hobby? Think about it. I guess a hobby. I could paint and make money, but if I didn't get paid, I wouldn't do it. But it's a hobby because I love it. She said, good answer, because you don't make near as much as you think you do. Probably the fourth person I think about is a guy named Dave Benedict. You mentioned Bruce. Dave, I umpired with Dave some. One of my favorite stories, he was going up to Wayne State with a guy. This guy would put a belt around. He'd get serious. I remember working with him once. I'd worked, it's College World Series week. My hat was sweat, stained. This guy has jackets, white, I said, let's go. He said, no, not yet. He had to clean off my hat and brush it off to make it clean. I said, I'm from Litchfield, Nebraska. We have an old saying, don't try and dress up a pig. You irritate the pig and waste your time. But he was working with this guy, and he said, all right, I'm ready to go to war. And Dave said, well, you can go to war if you want, but I say play ball. I'm going to go have fun. And that's been my philosophy ever since. Every time I go on that ball field, I'm going to have fun. So, Mike mentioned I stretch. I do. I stretch. I want to, be ready to move out there. But I also say a little prayer every time I go out. So, number one, I'm doing this for the players. Number two, coaches. Number three, fans. I don't count. Okay? It's for the kids. Let's have fun. And so when I stop and think about why I'm here, all I ever wanted to do was be a part of the game. One of the things I love when the bat, I pick it up, that 5-year-old bat boy comes out, coach's son. I give him that bat, give him a high five. I love just being part of the game. And I remember what it's like to be like that. Thank you, Mike. Thank you. I'm shocked I'm here. Thank you very much.
All right, our next inductee is Jim BOEVE, and Ken Vergeth will do the honors.
No rebuttal. Come on, Jimmy. All right, buddy. Very quickly, Renee, congratulations. I've talked to Renee on the phone a couple of times because we're trying to put together a benefit golf tournament for next year, and I wanted to get coaches' schedules, kind of see when they could make it. And I do remember Bob on the phone, or telling me that when you got her on the phone, you ain't talking to the coaches. She ain't putting you through. So I got all the information I needed from Renee, and thank you very much for that. Okay, Jim BOEVE. After reading Jim BOEVE's baseball resume, I thought many words come to mind to describe him, but dedication and commitment were at the forefront. Jim was a decorated player, played all the levels back in Legion, college, semi-pro, earning all-state status as a catcher. He was selected as an alternate to the United States Olympic baseball team in 1983. But Jim's coaching resume reads like a Lifetime Achievement Award. He coached 22 years at the Legion level, started, played, and coached 5 years for the Hastings Roadrunners, and after having no program for 10 years, he restarted the Hastings College baseball program and coached it for 24 years, and served as the officer in the Coaches Association. Jim was inducted into the NAIA Hall of Fame in 2010, received the prestigious Robert Ish Smith Award in 2012, and served as the chair for the NAIA Baseball National Selection Committee. He is currently in his 35th year at Hastings College, serving as the registrar and faculty athletic representative. And there is icing on the cake. Jim and his wife Tracy's son Mike was drafted in this year's Major League Baseball draft, 54th player in the second round, to the Milwaukee Brewers. Congratulations on that. And the family scrapbook is getting bigger. It is my pleasure to introduce to you inductee Jim BOEVE.
Thank you very much. Thank you to the committee for this honor. I do have some people with me tonight. My wife Tracy, my daughter Jennifer, my son Mike, Addison Miller is with us. It's the Christmas movie season. So when you watch Christmas Vacation this week and you hear the line, if I woke up tomorrow with my eyebrows stapled to the carpet, I couldn't be any more surprised than I am now that my pastor is here tonight and I didn't go to church this morning. I've often heard it said that baseball is a circular game. If you do me a favor, you think about that for a second. If you're one of the math nerds from the BOEVE family, it might mean for every game won, there's a game lost, and for every home run hit, there's a home run given up. Or maybe it's your circle is tight. You're a team person and you keep your circle tight. Or maybe you think of some of your circular relationships, your love-hate relationship, your live and learn. But baseball has always been a love and learn for me. I've loved it all. I've loved the coaching. I love the playing. I love starting the team from scratch. I love working on the field. I love dealing with the weather. There were days I loved driving the bus, which you do at a small school. I love making the travel arrangements, recruiting. Rob and I were talking about standing out at Hastings watching recruits play in the fall many years ago. I loved announcing the games for the state tournament, keeping score, playing the music. I love being president of the school board at Hastings High when we start baseball. But it doesn't all work out. You know, you don't always win like you think, and you find out you still kind of love it. All these lessons you get, they still pay off. And then you have a couple kids come along, and you start thinking about, oh, these lessons are pretty important. So they start hearing things about everybody's got to find a way to contribute. And, you know, the other guy's trying to win too. Why walk when you can run? How can you get any better if you don't practice? And Bruce, sacrifice is the most beautiful word in the English language. So we've had quite a year. We've had our first college graduate, played on the best softball team in our school's history, had a son get drafted this summer. And people ask me, what means the most to you? And what means the most to me is they love the grind, those two kids. They loved practice. When they were hurt, when things didn't go that well, they loved to practice. And the game is circular. Because in between that successful season and that draft, I got the diagnosis that coaches my age, and those of us old school and went to games to test exit velocity, didn't sit behind a computer to see what the exit velocity was, felt we got to be outside, we got to be on the field, we got to be in the stands watching these kids. I got that diagnosis that you don't want to get. And so now baseball's become circular for me because I have to embrace the grind, and they're my inspiration for it. So this is well timed for me. I really appreciate the honor, and it's really helped my focus. And I thank you for being here, and I thank you for being a part of it.
All right, last and definitely not least, Darin Erstad. I've had the pleasure of knowing Darin for many, many years. I started scouting in the early 90s, and Darin was a player at the University of Nebraska. I did the scouting thing for 24 years. That's still the best player I ever turned in. Gave him the highest grades. And not so much that, he was a 5-tool player. He could field with anybody. He won 3 gold gloves in the major leagues, and he's the only player ever to win 3 gold gloves, one at 3 different positions, left field, center field, and first base. I watched him every chance, of course, since I knew him on TV and whatnot when he was with the Angels. I never saw him dog it, ever. He always ran everything out. 4-1 to first base. If it was a comebacker or a triple against the right field wall, he always gave 100%. Never saw him dog it. And, you know, that's the best thing you can ever say about a player. I don't care if he isn't worth a damn. If he gives you his best effort, that's all you can ask. Had a pretty good year in 2002, had 255 hits. That's one of the greatest accomplishments in baseball history. I asked him about it. He said, you know, everything I hit just fell in that year. Like it wasn't any big deal. He was a World Series champion in 2002. I remember the home run he hit. And I think the last out of the 2002 World Series, did you catch that ball in center field? That was the last out of that series. A little bit of a personal story, and I asked him earlier if this was accurate. He was brought up, he was drafted in the June draft. He was the very first player picked. And by September, he was in the big leagues. And, you know, I thought, you know, here's a chance. He knows me. Maybe he'd sign a few things for the Beatrice Bruins. That's how he paid for a lot of our bills. So I found out where he was at in a motel outside of Anaheim on the second floor. He had another teammate with him named Pritchard, who had just been called up. He was from UCLA. And I asked him, I said, would you mind signing a few things, you know? And he said, yeah, I'll be happy to. So I took 75 items up there. And he said, Bob, are you sure that's all? It's the only time I've ever seen him even a little bit aggravated, but I said, well, I sure appreciate it, and our baseball team does too. Don't forget our complimentary tickets. We'll pick them up at will call. He says they'll be there. So, anyway, as Brian Duensing said, you know, so-and-so was a great player, but even a better person. This guy's a better person. I think he's a great guy, and I appreciate everything that he has done for us. Even tonight, him and Brian, I appreciate you signing some stuff. Help out the Hall of Fame, so come on up, Darin.
Now let him talk.
I'm going to talk first? Okay.
Yeah, go ahead and talk.
Coach, that's going to be really hard to follow, by the way. Oh, I'm shaking from
Me
that.
too.
It's awesome. I think safe to say we all know Bob, what he's baseball lifer, right? And when he was sitting here talking through the night, it made me think of Nebraska. Jed, Petey, Lou, you guys were all there. And I'll never forget it. We're sitting in the left field. Petey had taught me how to put Ziploc bags on my socks because we didn't have an out boarding truck at Buck. So Avery Avenue, the water would come up on the field and you'd have it on your thing. So we put Ziploc bags inside of our shoes and a little pine tar on there so we keep our feet dry. But I'll never forget it. They go, today's attendance, 5. She was working, he was one of the 5, and that was it. Let's just say that Will and Rob and Dunce and Leadman, you guys have changed that once Will caught that last out against Rice. Let's just say things changed quite a bit. Thanks to the board, appreciate this honor, and Mike, I think you and I would have been really good friends because I still haven't met somebody that I like that I played against. So, you watch the game now, it's like a Starbucks at the bases. You get over there, and it's just chatty. I mean, it's a little different. No, thank you. Yeah. So, anyway, you just never know. You're just thinking about like, God, life happens, and you just never know what's coming your way, and you just get opportunities. In the summer of 1990. I'm up in North Dakota playing Legion ball. We don't have high school ball. A lot of people here can be, recognize that, familiar with that. And a guy named Steve Gillespie was the assistant coach at Nebraska, came up and coached our Legion team. And I didn't know who he was. It's like, whatever. And My birthday, I dive for a ball in Mandan, North Dakota, and I break my hand. So I only played a couple games that year. But he was the coach. He gave my name to John Sanders. John Sanders, that's how I got to Nebraska. Wow. But you think about just the odds of that happening aren't real high. And then I'm looking through this thing with my wife about, was there, 4 people from outside the state maybe that are in the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, not very many.
Not very many, right?
No.
So you got a kid from North Dakota coming to Nebraska, clueless. And the one thing about Nebraska, and everybody who grew up here knows this, they take you in like family. And I don't know how I would have ever made it through if I didn't have that. And there's a big reason why I have my life from here, my wife from here. And we did this thing, I've told this story a bunch of times, but when I was done playing, we sat down and we go, okay, we're gonna take a map of the United States and we're gonna figure out where we're gonna raise our kids. So guess what the first state Jessica crossed off? North Dakota. 100 below is a little much for her. First state I crossed off was California. We ended up getting down to the last 2, Colorado and Nebraska. And we looked at each other and we just said, it's no brainer. This is where we want to raise our kids. And that's what we did. And I think it's fitting that this all comes back around to there's one person in this room that epitomizes what Nebraska is all about. And that's Renee. Blue collar, hardworking, loyal. You said it earlier when you were talking, problem solver. Yes, we didn't talk for a few months right there. And I might have made a quote, was that it's just about the experience or something like that? It's all part of the experience, yeah. But her best quality, and I'm not like this at all, she's stubborn. And that wasn't the first time that we had never talked. Remember that? When I was in college, we didn't talk for like 3 months one year. Because I don't even know what it was, but we were both so stubborn that we just never even talked. And nobody was giving in. And that's hard because, I mean, like a lot of us that play there, she's my second mom. And I love you to death. And you stand for everything that's perfect about this whole organization. And I'm just excited to be a part of it. And I'm excited for the next generation. Piper, I promise you I'll get done real quick here so you can get out of here. But the next generation could be Max Peterson. Could be you, right? But that's the next wave of kids coming. And I just want to thank everybody for setting the culture, setting the expectations, setting what it means to be from Nebraska and what it's all about, even though I'm not from here. It makes me very proud to raise our kids here. So thank you and have a good night.